Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a circuit famed for its history. Of course, we come to the Brickyard, famed, of course, for the Indy 500, the staple of the IndyCar calendar, and of course, one of 3 races on the prestigious motorsport accolade of the Triple Crown. Today we tackle it in GT3 machinery for round number 5, the penultimate round here for season 2 of the Sim Racing Collective GT3 Series here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and of course on the PC as well. We don't take to the oval, we take to the road circuit, a very twisty technical circuit that will definitely provide some fantastic racing action, as we have come accustomed to over the course of our 5 races actually so far. We had 2 at Brands Hatch, I do forget. But we come to Indianapolis for the penultimate round. We go to Spa in a week's time. And well, you can see now we are under the lights at the moment. We do take to the American conditions. Track is fast, not optimal as we have come to be acclimatized to. But it is still fast, still up there in terms of track condition. Of course, that is going to improve over the 15-minute qualifying that we do have. Of course, those 15 minutes have turned into 13.5 minutes because it took us a second, apologies, just to get into the session. Running on board at the moment with Sir Smokey, who, after boasting some pretty good results at the moment, sits 4th in the championship. Of course, he is tied with Jack Southfield, who is in P3. Bailey Thompson still leads the way. Guillaume Hamling just in behind him, about 7 points back, 7.5 points back actually, on Bailey Thompson, who himself has only taken 1 victory. However, 2 second places alongside that really has helped him along the way. Looking at Guillaume Hamling, no podiums other than his sole win last time out at Monza. He did a fantastic job at the Temple of Speed, really managed to make a name for himself and struck down a good result on home soil for the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo manufacturer. At the moment, championship leader Bailey Thompson, you can see here running through the right-hander in towards the quick flick to the left towards the tail end of the lap. You run it all the way through this left-hander, then you rejoin the oval section of the circuit just in a couple of moments' time. I'm not too familiar actually with Indianapolis Motor Speedway, at least on ACC. Actually, no, that is not the end of the circuit by any stretch of the imagination. This is actually the initial start of the circuit. He's now coming into the chicane at the back end of the straight. Of course, you do turns 1 and 2. You go through the long sweeper of turn 3, through a fast chicane, down the back straight into a 90-degree left-hander. Bit of a zigzag chicane through a long right, following the oval round until you meet the final chicane. Then you follow the last bit of the oval round until you meet the checkered flag. This is exactly what he's doing right now, running through that fast right-hander bit, but then you slam on the anchors before you can carry on into this quick right and then left, where, of course, the left really does tighten up going through. Using the full extremities of the circuit, as you can see here for Bailey Thompson, trying to make the most of his lap in that Mercedes. Championship leader, of course, wants to hang on to that to the best of his ability. With 11 minutes left to go, what time is he going to post? It's to be the first of those posted. 136.7 is the benchmark. In just behind is Eric Larson. Guillaume Hamling, though, 0.6 of a second quicker there with a 136.1. Fantastic lap time there from the Frenchman, Dutchman, whatever you want to call him. He's from Luxembourg. This is Slav in the very striking Tiger Racing Team Mercedes livery. Unfortunately for him, was not able to make the last round. He managed to fit in the YouTube chat, was watching along, and unfortunately for him, was not able to make the end of that lap either. Jack Southfield at the moment leads the way in terms of this qualifying session, 1/10 clear, or just under a 10th clear of Eligna, who himself posted a fantastic result last time out at Monza. Really impressed on debut, was one of the front runners until sort of misfortune hit his way and wasn't able to complete his proper run. This is Jack Southfield, a little bit wide, coming out of the quick flick left-right. There are two renditions of that chicane, actually. I think I've become closer to. There's a tighter one and then quite a more flowing one. On ACC, we go to the more tighter one. Jack Southfield really making a mess of this back-end chicane. He's in touch there of Samuel Schmondley just in front, who himself is P10 at the moment, despite going into Monza third in the championship. Unfortunately now, he is nowhere to be seen. I say that nowhere to be seen. He's 1 point behind Sir Smokey, P5 in the championship. Talking through the rest of the top 10, actually, let's do that. Nico Velbin, P6, Nicholas Alvarado there, after taking a victory at round 2, only sits 7th. Then comes Connor Courtney, victory, of course, race 1 at Brands Hatch. Tom Davidson, Derek Stone round off the top 10 for the Pro Championship. Of course, don't forget, we have got the AMS to focus on alongside those. Speaking of the AMS, it is going to be Martin Blankenstein that I believe that leads the way. Indeed, it is 80 points, 16 clear of Alex Skinner, the Team Rookie Monsters, Lexus in P2 with Tom Marchek rounding your top 3. James Wright, Paul Jackson, your top 5. Fernando Torres, not to be confused with the famous footballer in P6. Ryan Jones, Christopher Marston, Ivan Tomasi, and Elias Troyer, your top 10 in terms of the AM Championship standing. Both championships, particularly the pros, are one to be beheld. Really looking forward to see how that battle progresses into the final 2 rounds. Of course, 6 races long this season, so too with season 1. You really have to be on it from race 1. Of course, you do get assisted by your drop scores, but you don't want to rely on them too much. You want to deliver week in, week out. Make sure you get those results, because 6 races, it's not a lot of time. If you mess up one race, if you're behind, you haven't got a lot of time to make that time back up. So it is good to get the ball rolling very, very quickly. Here's Bailey Thompson. The Mercedes, I was actually about to say the Mercedes seems to be struggling, but Sir Smokey is leading the way by about 0.4 of a second clear of Samuel Tremondley. So seems to be the manufacturers fairly even across the board. It just seems to be that maybe Bailey Thompson is slightly struggling in terms of out-and-out pace, 1 lap pace. But then again, that is by no stretch of the imagination Bailey Thompson's strong suit at all, really. I mean, if we look back to qualifying at Misano, he was down in P6. I say Misano because it was the first one that popped up when I clicked onto the SimGrid page. Looking to Barcelona, he was down in P4, so not even on the front row yet, and that's the first 2 rounds. And looking to Brands Hatch in terms of qualifying, managed to get pole there, so fair play to him. Monza, he was all the way down in P5, so only 1 front row over the course of this season so far in terms of qualifying, and that is, you know, it's not that impressive, it's not that standout. However, what he has got for him is some fantastic racecraft for Bailey Thompson, and that is what defines a driver more so than anything. Yes, it's great being good on 1 lap pace, but you don't score many points in qualifying. Oftentimes series don't even award points for qualifying. Most don't, only a select few do for, say, pole position or whatever. So you really do need to be on it as best as you can. Of course, if you are watching along on the James Parfitt Broadcasting YouTube channel, do make sure to hit the subscribe button, press the bell for notifications for all of the sim racing action that we bring to you here live on JP Broadcasting, and make sure to keep an eye out for any new series that tickles your fancy. We have stuff all throughout the week. We range from single seaters, GTs, NASCARs, whatever floats your boat. We have, not literal boats, race cars mostly, pretend race cars, of course, and an array of fantastic talent and broadcasting talent at that. So if you are watching along, make sure to give the stream a like, and head over to the Sim Racing Collective SimGrid as well to make sure you are ready, up to date, and interested when the sign-ups open for season number 3, if we do have one. Fingers crossed we do. Of course, registration sign-ups are closed, unfortunately, for season 2, the last time I checked, so you will have to make do and just wait out for season 3 to get yourself involved with such a fantastic series as this one. Really fall in love with the TSRC. It's not often something that happens, really, with series as commentators. There's some that are like, yeah, cool, got to do this one, do it. You know, TSRC always deliver, week in, week out. There's always a good race. There's always something to talk about, no matter what. And I really do like the format of the 15-minute qualifying into a 45-minute race. Of course, we did change that up for Brands Hatch, and it did deliver. So maybe that is something to maybe build upon for season number 3. But considering this is only the 2nd season of this PC Championship, not doing too bad whatsoever. Running on board at the moment, focusing on the Bauer Motorsport Lamborghini of Guillaume Hamling in P5. Speaking of the AMs, just slightly, you got Tom Marchinek there in P11. He takes pole for the AMs, only slightly ahead of Nico Veldman, who is well, don't make that Eric Larson, while Tom Marchinek moves himself up into the top 10. Martin Blankensteiner, not Blankensteiner or I don't even know. He said to me, he was like, "You're the only person that's ever got my name pronounced correctly." And I was like, how can you pronounce that any differently? So, you know, you got Blankensteiner. I genuinely am taken aback as to how people can get that so wrong. But to each their own, I suppose. I don't know. I'm definitely no one to talk about pronouncing names. So just look at Slav and his name. Because there is no way I can pronounce that right at all. I've given it a good go, but he said, no, you are way off. So I was like, no, okay, I'm giving up. And there are a lot of Polish names that I just get completely wrong. There is just no need. Thankfully, our exclusive poll on the grid, Derek's son, has a fairly nice name of son. I think he's Polish. I always get confused with, obviously, Monaco, Singapore, and... Oh, not Singapore. Where is it that's got the red and white? Might be Singapore. No, because Singapore's got, like, a crescent on it. I don't know. There's a flag as well that has the red and white. But back to that anyway. But we'll get back to the live action because we've got 4 minutes left to qualify. And Dom Davidson moves himself up in a P3. That's fantastic result so far for the Porsche. That's a nice livery on that Mercedes for Martin Blankensteiner. Leading the way is the Dane in the AM Championship. Can he improve upon his time and move himself up onto pole for the AMs? Yes, he does. Up to P9 overall and 3/10 clear of championship rival and AM rival of Tom Marchinek. Just a couple of tenths back there. 2 places behind Martin Blankensteiner. Chris Davis separates the 2 of them. 3.5 minutes left of qualifying. Then Sir Smoggy leads the way on pole position. Here's Dominic Illner, the man who will join him on the front row as it stands. The German, an impressive debut last time out at Monza. Davidson and Thompson 3 and 4 with Samuel Chmodley your top 5. Then comes Guillaume Hamling, Jack Southfield, Slav Blankensteiner and Chris Davis your top 10. That's how they sit provisionally in this qualifying session, though that is still all subject to change. As you can see now, Dominic Illner, Eligner, negotiating through the final couple of corners, or the final corner on that run to the line. Should see a fair multitude of good racing action down and towards turn number 1. You come off a very quick, flat-out final quarter into turn 1, so you should, in theory, be able to follow as close as you'd like down that run towards T1 and try and nip your way up the inside. Though, in my experience, I mean, I've watched sort of the IMSA Esports Racing Series, a number of races here in Indianapolis. Formula Sim Racing came here on our Factor 2, I think last year as well. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake at by any stretch of the imagination. It can be quite tricky, can Indianapolis. So you do have to negotiate yourself quite well, though it can be the site of some great racing, like we saw with Sebastian Vettel back in 2007, I believe it was, when I was just a mere 1 year old, or maybe not even. Managed to impress on debut. I think it was P8 on debut, and of course the site of the 2005 shambles that happened for the American Grand Prix. So it's up and down. It depends. It has its moments. Does Indianapolis? Of course, host of the critically acclaimed Turbo animated movie by DreamWorks. I loved that movie as a kid. I really did. It was one of my favourite movies. It really got me into sort of like the Indy 500 and how things work like that. But then again, I was a child and I loved anything that had fast cars that go zoom. So maybe I have a slight bit of bias there, but I still enjoy it some now. But I can see that it's got a fair number of holes in its plot. But hey, that's to each their own. I enjoy it. If you are watching along in the YouTube chat, as I say, subscribe, hit the bell, and follow Blankenmeister. Yeah, Blankenmeister, of course. Indonesia, that's the one. Of course it is. Yeah. I don't know why I said Singapore. It's Indonesia. I did pass geography. I got an A star in geography actually for my GCSEs. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. Indonesia is Indonesia, isn't it? Yeah. Cheers, B. Appreciate it. Yeah, Blankenmeister. Again, I just don't know. Of course, that is Alex Skinner saying that, don't he? Here's Slav, though. We'll again cut back to the live action. He's coming through the final couple of corners now into this right that leads into the left. You really have to open this corner up, bring it back in. He's P8 at the moment, 1 second off the pole position man of Sir Smoggy. Through the fast right hand that leads you on to the banking and, of course, down the pit straight again to see himself cross the line. This will be his final lap now starting. Was an improvement? No, it was not. His best of 36.1. That last lap, a 36.5. Oh, 36.5 out of 36.9, I believe. Here comes Sporticus. Hello, hello. Of course, doing us the great pleasure of not keeping an eye on Lazy Town. Joining us in the YouTube chat here for TSRC PC Series GT3 for season number 2, of course, here at round 5 at Indianapolis. Dominic Ilner will, Eligner, I should say, following him at the moment. He's trying to close the gap to Sir Smokey. 2.5 tenths is the gap between the Audi and the Mercedes. Through the final corner, is Guillaume Hamlin going to have anything to say about? The checkered flag falls on qualifying. Track reached optimum, so the track got better as the session went on. Is it pole position for Eligner? Yes, it is. By 1/10 of a second, though. Hold your horses, because we still have Smokey, Hamlin, Davidson yet to cross the line. Same to a Jack Southwood. Maybe he can pull one out of the bag. Through the final corner now, you can see the young Brit. He better impress. He's got Andrew Pike watching along, waiting in the wings to see what he can do. Up to the second row of the grid, toppling Tom Davidson and, of course, Bailey Thompson as well. So a good result there from young Brit. Here's Sir Smokey trying to reclaim his throne at the top of the timesheets here for qualifying in towards the final chicane. The German through the right and then into the left. Could it be a German 1-2, both for the drivers and for the manufacturers? Or is Guillaume Hamlin going to have anything to say about that one as well? The 284 runs through the final corner now. You've really got to be planted. You've got to get your foot down and just trust that the car's going to grip. Run to the line now, of course. Checker flag has fallen. This is his final run. Is it going to be pole position? Yes, it is. Sir Smokey topples Eligner by 0.5 tenth of a second. It wasn't quite good enough in the end for Guillaume Hamlin. He stays third, running on board now with Nico Veldman, the Dutchman, who really put in a good showing at round 2 at Masano. Since then, really has fallen, and that speaks volumes as to what happened. That is not the bit of the banking that they join on to. Sammy Chimondley, last bit of the track for him, really taking a bit of a bite out of the circuit there over the grass. Is it going to be an improvement? No, he stays at P7. We'll walk you through then how the grid is going to rack up going into the 45-minute race here for round number 5 of the Sim Racing Collective PC GT3 Series here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. By 0.5 tenth, it was Sir Smokey that takes pole position. He'll be joined by Eligner on the front row. Guillaume Hamlin and Jack Southwood just in behind 3 and 4. Tom Davidson rounds off your top 5 with Bailey Thompson, a unsurprisingly consistent qualifying record for the championship leader in 6th. Jamon Lee Blankenstein is 7th and 8th. Of course, the Dane taking the pole position for the AMS. Then comes Slav and Davis, your top 10. Eric Larson and Marchinek share the 6th row of the grid. Nico Veldman and Marston in behind. McClory P15 with Fernando Torres and Conor Courtney 16th and 17th. Brian rounds off the 9th row of the grid with Wright and Rodriguez 19th and 20th. The back end, of course, of the field. We will scroll down and get the rest of them if there is. I don't think there is. That is going to be absolutely it in terms of the order. I'm going to step away for just a moment, grab myself a drink, before we go into a 40-minute race. I do apologise. It's only 40 minutes of racing, not 45 as I once promised. 40 minutes of action. We'll go to the formation lap in just a few moments' time.
Seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
Underway now for the formation lap then here at Indianapolis. If you have only just joined us, we talked you through the first 15 minutes, or the only 15 minutes to qualify, the first 15 minutes of the broadcast. We now cut away to a 40-minute sprint race to the checkered flag. They do have to take a mandatory pit stop along the way between the middle 25 minutes of the race. The drivers will have ample opportunity to come in, fuel up, that's all they're going to need. No tyres needed at all. Although I think it's the same time to change tyres and fuel up at the same time, so it is actually beneficial to change tyres just to make sure you've got the stuff ready to go. Sorry, I just got a message from someone asking the details for the Rocket Racing Star Formula 4 Esports Competition UK that I did about half a year ago. He's asking what times we did, what F4 cars we used. So obviously people trying to get some practice in for a competition that hasn't even been announced yet, whether it's going to happen again or not. But hey, of course I'll let him know the details anyway, because it's good to be prepared. Always good to be prepared. Talking of practice, it's a useful tool. Practice is so undeniably important to succeed in sim racing, particularly at the highest level. Of course, here as well, we've got some really good drivers. Of course, we've got teams like Team Ricky Monsters, Alex Skinner driving the way, competing in the top flights of R Factor 2 esports in the Virtual Endurance Championship. They are boasting some success, although I say that season 14 at Monza did not get off to the best of starts last year. Got taken out before the race had even started. So maybe Team Ricky Monsters needs to have another look at themselves and readjust their race start procedure. Alex going to watch along. I'm kind of sorry, not really. Be great to see him racing for the 6 hours of Laguna Seca on Saturday. I'll be talking through the first 2 hours of that alongside you and O'Leary. But that's besides the point. We're going to watch now the start of this race. So Smokey, Eligna, your front row. They're lining up 2 by 2. Noah's Ark down the field. Guillaume Hamling, Jack Southfield 3 and 4. Tom Davison rounds off your top 5 with Bailey Thompson, the 3rd row of the grid, ready to go. They've got a couple more corners left to go to signal us underway before they bow the way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time of many throughout this race. Beef saying, Jack, you've let Team Xbox down. He's representing, he's trying to represent, but unfortunately came up a little bit short, and that I'm sure is not the first time Jack Southfield has heard that. Sir Smokey, Derek Eligna, front row of the grid. Sir Smokey controls the pace. The green flag will wave to signal us underway for round number 5 here for season number 2. We're waiting, suspended in anticipation, waiting for the flagman to wave us go. And of course, Sir Smokey will punch it already on that inside line. The dirty side of the track, though, still great. Green flag waved. We're underway in Indianapolis. Sir Smokey with a pretty good launch. You can see there the Mercedes of, I think, Bailey Thompson darting already to the right-hand side, trying to make up some places. Eligna to the left-hand side of Sir Smokey for the race lead already. Outside quickly becomes inside. Guillaume Hamling waiting in the wings, trying to do his best. Sir Smokey in very, very deep. The Lamborghini of Guillaume Hamling side by side with the Audi of Eligna, trying to contest over second place. Tom Davison to the outside of Jack Southfield, getting himself up in a 4th. You can see there the Audi and the Lamborghini still running side by side in towards the long right-hander of turn 3 before they run their way through in towards the chicane of 3 and 4. Hop, skip and a jump as you run your way through. Really important to do so because of the run it gives you down the back straight. Guillaume Hamling having to play second fiddle and tuck in behind Eligna, at least for now, through the very wavy section. Actually, I don't think they go through the chicane at all. I do apologize. They run their way through 3 and 4 and the swooping section. But it is still Sir Smokey that leads from Eligna, Hamling, Davidson, Southfield, your top 5 for the first sector of the first lap. Back in the pack, Connor Courtney trying to contest amongst Brian. Samuel Chimondley really having a stinker, starting maybe from the back of the grid. Side by side, 3 wide maybe. Oh, there goes the Lamborghini. That's Brian sent off into the grass. Rejoins the circuit. Oh my word, that was close. Martin Bryan nearly had a big old moment there into the side of the Honda NSX of Chimondley, trying to recover, of course, in this race. And it'll be good to track their progress through the field and see what they can do. There is Jack Southfield trying out a little bit of rallycross. You can see their Slav following him through. Tom Davison up into the podium places somehow. We round off lap number 1, and I think that is because we have lost someone from that front fight. I believe so. Yeah, it's Guillaume Hamling. He's tumbling down the order. You can see that P19 waiting for, of course, the time and tower to refresh. What has happened to the Lamborghini? It's a shame we can't take a look at replays on ACC because of just how sheerly awkward it is. Oh, that is awkward as well. Jack Southfield making a couple of paces, of course. There's Martin Blankensteiner, leader in the AM so far. We had Slav have a bit of an off. Also, same, I believe, with the Audi of Eligna maybe as well. getting in the way. I did see an Audi going a little bit slowly. But you can see there, instead of going to the chicane, they turn right again in towards yet another left. This is an interesting layout of the Indianapolis Motorsports road circuit. For Jack Southfield, P8 at the moment now. Oh, maybe, have we got a replay? We have got a replay. This is what happened beautifully. There's Bailey Thompson going into the back of him. Guillaume Hamlin just loses it all by himself. Was that Bailey Thompson? I don't think that was Bailey Thompson. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. That's great. Oh, Sharpie he's figured something out here. Nice. I like that. Cool. Did not know we could do that. That's awesome. Cool. Okay, I've got a smile on my face now. It's weird that I'm getting so excited about replays and stuff because we haven't had them. I've never seen a replay for this series before, but there you go. There's Sharpie. Broadcast extraordinaire. Do you know what? I tried to say that at one point. I was trying to find those exact words, but I just couldn't. I was going to say entrepreneur or something along those lines, and I was just like, no, that's not right. I have to stop myself. So I was like, specialist. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a sec because Slav and Cholmondeley running side by side, getting a little bit argy-bargy. The Tiger trying to keep the Honda NSX at bay. Still emerging side by side in this fight for 11th place. Or 12th place actually now after it refreshes. The Barney's Vomit Honda NSX now. I've only just realised as to why that's called Barney's Vomit. Because it's a very vibrant mess of a livery, which is, it works. Here's Cholmondeley pulling to the right hand side. He's got to be brave on the brakes. Gets the squeeze from the Estonian who pulls it back to the racing line to try and sweep to the outside. Brilliantly done. Master of defence is that Tiger Racing team. The 111 has nothing to say. The 777 just in behind of Martin Bryan. Oh, it was Bailey. Okay, maybe it was. Okay, I didn't see the purple streaks along the side of the car, so I wasn't exactly sure. Again, I just had another blonde moment. Had a blonde moment. Then again, I suppose it is better to be blonde than ginger, like Jack Southfield. Oh, there's Guillaume Hamlin having another off. That is unfortunate for the Luxembourgish driver. That is Luxembourg. But how do you say someone from Luxembourg? Do you just say someone from Luxembourg, or do you say like Luxembourgish? I think that is a language, Luxembourgish, so maybe it is. I don't know. Again, I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. Because I'm the only one in the commentary booth, so I have to portray my own thoughts to myself. Which is a little bit sad, but fingers crossed we've got enough people in chat that it makes it viable, that I'm not going insane. And I'm not just talking to the voices. But yeah, anyway, Christopher Marston. P4 in the AMS at the moment, trying to get past Martin Bryan to get himself onto the podium in the amateur class. Tom Martinek just in behind, started second now. P5 in the AMS. The Bentley darting to the inside, having a bit of a look. Christopher Martin gets scared off into the pit lane of, I think, for a Luxemburger. Oh, that's awesome. Do you reckon McDonald's do Luxemburgers? That'd be really cool if they do. I want to go to Luxembourg now to see if they do Luxemburgers. That'd be really cool. Again, sorry, that is... I don't even know where that's coming from. Sandwich Mondi to the inside of Johnny McClory. Nicely done. Easy as you'd like it. Running his way through. Do the long right-hander, turn 3 into the next right-hander here, where you're meant to cut off for the flash again. You can see it there, the left and the right, but instead we follow it all the way around the right. Oh, bit of a switch there from the Estonian of Slav. You can see there's Cholmondeley trying to go the long way round, though it is a very long way around the outside. Double Luxembourger with cheese, yeah, absolutely. Everyone get your Luxembourger logos in. Mark Fletcher, welcome in. Yo to you too. With 5 exclamation marks, I think. Yeah, nice one. Very excited to be here as Mark Fletcher. You can see Samuel Cholmondeley trying to get all over the back now of the Tiger Racing Team Mercedes. Fighting over the final places inside the top 10. Looking to the front of the field, though. So Smokey still leads the way, 8/10 clear of Derek Eligna. He's doing his best to pull away. Fast lap, of course, for Smokey. No surprise after his triumphant pole position. Running side by side nearly. Slav putting up a mighty defence against the Honda NSX, though goes in a way too deep. Cholmondeley says thank you very much. Nips his way up the inside, says see you in a bit, mate. And is on his way to collect his Luxembourger. Running his way through the final corner now. Onto the pit straight. And is setting his sights for Fernando Torres, the leader of the ads at the moment, because Martin Blankensteiner has had an absolute Martin stinker. Eric Larson, the Norwegian, I think, in the Lexus, unfortunately having it off. From P5 on the grid as well, or on the timing tower, I should say. We're going to take a look as to how this happened. Replays, I love him. Way too deep on the brakes. There's Bailey Thompson, championship leader in front of him. Loops them, pair of them round. Jack Southfield says, all right, cheers. works his way through the middle and will see himself up now into 4th place. Eric Larson, Bailey Thompson still fighting them amongst themselves for now what is a very lackluster P7. Bailey Thompson is not going to be liking this in the championship, considering the fact that Sir Smokey is leading the way, considering the fact that Jack Southfield is up there in 4th. Unfortunately for him, his other championship rival, just going to take a quick look as to how that is Guillaume Hamling, of course, in 2nd place in the championship. The man closest to him is only way far down. He's I don't even know where he is at this point. I think P20 maybe. Just have a quick look. Guillaume Hamling P13 actually. Just had to scan the tower very quickly. But yeah, Sandwich Modley, Fernando Torres now. P9 Modley making a really good comeback. Do keep your comments coming in the YouTube chat, of course. Give me something to bounce off for. There is Fernando Torres going very wide, invites Chimondley through. Also same with McClory, I think, just in behind him as well. So unfortunately for Torres, not the best negotiation of the final couple of corners. Slab finds his way through. You've also got the Aston Martin there of someone, maybe a bit of lap traffic in the way, because there's no Aston Martin near them apart from Christopher Marston. There's no way he's made up like 6 places in the span of that amount of time. Torres giving Slab the squeeze. Running through turn 2 in towards 3, trying to get the under and over. You can see Guillaume Hamling there in the Lamborghini trying to work his way in to the mix, trying to recover what these racing standards. I mean, they're doing their best. It can be very, very tricky at times. They are really fighting as hard as they can. Of course, they are only human, trying to make the most of the situation they've got at hand and trying to limit the mistakes. Of course, naturally mistakes are going to happen at a circuit like Indianapolis. You have to force those mistakes. Fingers crossed it is going to get better. They are going to calm down throughout the rest of this race. They're running 3 wide nearly into the end of the backstretch chicane. Guillaume Hamling ducking and diving, trying to find his way through to the outside now. Fernando Torres giving the inside for the next left-hander. That's exactly what he's going to be doing. And all Guillaume Hamling is going to want for Christmas is a place inside the top 10 to try and reignite a championship charge and stay inside the championship charge as well. But Slav ahead for P10, side by side just in the background there. There's Tom Marcinek and Torres fighting over the lead in the AMS. Actually, that's going to be something to watch here. You can see Torres trying to hang on. Marcinek sweeping his way to the outside. McClory also in the mix. Martin Bryan, 4-way fight for the lead in the AMS. Torres now beached on the outside. It's going to be Marcinek that squeezes his way up the inside of the final corner. But as they run their way onto the pit straight, he's got Torres, Marcinek and McClory breathing down his neck, already to the right hand side. A very wide pit straight. He only has to go to the middle. Torres goes even deeper though, straight to the right hand side. Now late on the brakes. Is he going to be able to try and get this place? The Bentley brakes later, swoops the long way round though, potentially goes in a bit too deep, has to make turn 2 very, very tight indeed. The Irishman and McClory just in behind Torres, trying to find the gap that opens, but Torres squeezed in between a rock and a hard place. Too late on the brakes there for McClory, goes in way too deep. Bryan as well. Oh, big crash in behind. Oh my words. There's Connell Courtney, fellow Irishman, in the Audi, a very damage-stricken Audi at that. And you can see there, right, trying to go to the outside, not quite finding a way through on the Irishman on that particular occasion. That is, wow, what could have been a fantastic fight turned into an anticlimactic end there for those guys. Marcinek, though, leads the way in the AMS for now. Torres, Bryan, and Wright, your top 4. But McClory, a clumsy mistake there, way too late on the brakes, just invited them in. Check up then on those leading the way. So Smokey leads it by 2 seconds clear of Derek Ligner, the German. So still a German 1-2, both for manufacturers and for drivers, but separated by a little bit more than they were a couple of laps ago. Ligner brings it back under 2 seconds, though still 1.9 seconds, too far back for his liking if he's going to want to win this race. 28 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. So still a long way to go, still a long things to be decided. Tom Davidson running a fairly quiet P3 at the moment. Here's the dive maybe from Eric Larson, was really rocking around the Christmas tree there, trying to find the gap, left, right, settled on the right-hand side. Now it might actually be the decision he should have settled on initially and committed to. Outside line, now turns inside again for the next right-hander. Bailey Thompson giving him the squeeze all the way around, trying to use the outside momentum to propel himself, get the drive off the corner though, still beached on the outside. That long right-hander, 3 corners in one really. invites Eric Larson to the inside, but Bailey Thompson stuck it out. Now gets rewarded by the inside for this very long left-hander. This is how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. Fighting over 7th place. Eric Larson nips his way up the inside, though the Mercedes still contesting it to the full extremities of the circuit, joining the back straight. Samuel Chimondley from last on the grid, now inside the top 10, still fighting for 7th. You can see they're trying to go for the supreme up and under. Eric Larson pulls to the right-hand side very, very late. What a fight we're seeing now. Bailey Thompson hanging on to the 7th place for as much as he can. 111 car of the Honda NSX trying to work his way through side by side between Eric Larson and Samuel Chimondley. They have to settle 7th, 8th and 9th as they were at the start of this lap, though. You can see that Chimondley trying to find the gap to the right-hand side, though for him it's going to go to no avail. Bailey Thompson picking up a mighty defense. There's the dive from the NSX. Backs out of it, though. Eric Larson sees it coming, just swoops to the outside, hits the apex well, but tarnishes his momentum into the pit lane, though. First of the drivers to do so, Eric Larson straight out of that fight because he knows that Chimondley and Thompson are potentially going to fight. So he pulls his way in to try and get the undercut, because 15 minutes of this race is where the pit window is open. They do have to come in to take their mandatory pit stop, of course, where it is just going to be a quick fuel stop and go. No tyres, unless it's beneficial to do so. I think it might be. I haven't played AC in a while because my wheel just doesn't like me at the minute. It never liked me on AC in general, but recently I just plugged it in and just didn't turn on, so I need to have a look at it and make sure everything's okay. Because I've only had it 2 years, so it should be alright. But also, yeah, just AC doesn't like me. It would just, the settings were just never right. Well, they were white for about a month, and then it just randomly just glitched. I could never get it right anyway. Anyway, we see this fight. Bailey Thompson, Samuel Chimondley, up and under. What a move from the 111 Honda NSX. How has he pulled that off? I do not know. That is excellence at its finest, ladies and gents. The 111, brilliant showing. Driver of the day so far is Samuel Chimondley. It must be said, up there, of course, with the top drivers of Sir Smoggy in terms of pace. But the way he's just carved his way through this field is second to none. Well, I mean, he's 7th to Nico Bellman, Chris Davis, Jack Southfield, Tom Davidson, Derek Ligner, and Sir Smoggy. But his performance is second to none. He is just amazing. He, like, the way he's just been so consistent and so quick at coming up behind a car, saying, cool, this is how I'm going to negotiate it. Spends no more than a lap, really, behind any car. And then just is like, cool, yeah, done, sorted, up the inside, jobs are good. And the way he got past the championship leader of this series, don't forget, it speaks volumes about how good of a driver Samuel Chimondley is and how good of a season they've had. You can see there Slav putting their way into the pit lane. Bailey Thompson comes in as well, being a bit lackluster on pace as the championship leader. Fortunately, as I say, with Guillaume Hamling not having the best of days, he's able to claw back a few points. Well, not necessarily claw back, but have enough of a buffer that the points that Sir Smoggy, Jack Southwood are clawing back are not overly significant. I mean, Sir Smoggy and Jack Southwood matched on points, but each of them are about 18.5 points back on, yeah, 0.5, 52, plus 10. At 18.5 points, I'm going to go with that and settle with it, if my maths are slightly wrong then. Yeah. But 18.5 points, that is... It's difficult to close in one race. Of course, it's a good stepping stone. I mean, if it stays as it is, that is some big inroads for Sir Smoggy relative to Bailey Thompson. I'm going to just top myself back up on how the scoring system works in this race. So, 30 points for a win. Bailey Thompson P13 as it stands. So that's 8. So that's a big 22 points gained. So, I mean, as it stands, Sir Smoggy could take the championship lead. I stand corrected because the point system works quite well in this series. 30 points for a victory, 24 for second, rewards a race win big time, 24 then 20, 17, 16, 15, 1 position, a 1 point per position all the way down to P20. So Bailey Thompson best hope that he has a fantastic second stint and that Sir Smoggy really fluffs things up, because 22 points is going to bring, or well, 18.5 points is going to be all the way down. We'll come back to that in just a second, actually, because Chris Davis, Nico Veldman side by side. You can see the Dutchman up the inside, parks it on the apex, bit of contact to the rear end from the Bentley. But yeah, just having a look at the 18.5 points. So 18 points will go down to 12th. So to stay in the championship lead, Bailey Thompson has to finish P9, which before the pit stops, he wasn't in 9th place. Jack Southwood as well can make some big inroads if Bailey Thompson really has a stinker, which, being still in the pit lane, is not very telling of a good result. He has got, I will say, his drop score is not too bad. Here's Nico Veldman, of course, versus Chris Davis as it stands. Bailey Thompson's drop round is a P11, so he's got that to lean on, whereas Kim Howning has a 4th and a DNF. So Smogy a 12th and a 4th. Jack Southfield the same as Bailey Thompson with a P11. So Bailey Thompson, he's got an 11th place to lean on. Basically, Sir Smogy is going to take the lead of the championship after this race because this is going to be Bailey Thompson's drop round. That's going to really open the door for things in Spa. Fingers crossed, it's going to mean that whoever finishes in front takes the championship. I do hope that is going to be the case, or at least it's only a discrepancy of a couple of places or whatever. Sir Smogy, if it stays as it is, touch wood, he could well and truly reignite his championship charge as Nico Veldman goes for a big old tank slapper there, tapped around by Chris Davis, of course. But yeah, those in the YouTube chat, if you can get onto the TSRC Season 2 SimGrid, I'm not chatting waffle here, am I? I mean, I've actually got some good basis in saying that Sir Smogy could take the championship lead after this race. That is remarkable, and I think both of them deserve it. Oh, that's deep there from Chris Davis. In 6th place. He was trying to make it 5th, though got a little bit too eager, a little bit too excited. A little bit like Matt Acton when he gets told he can go out Christmas caroling. He's doing a community the service. And speaking of services to the world, Jack Southfield employed at Marks & Spencer's as an elf over the Christmas period. But talking of even bigger services, he's doing us a massive one here. He took the night off from his elf duties. Santa, of course, gave him the day off. And by Santa, I mean Boris Santa, because, of course, Marks & Spencer's. Boris Johnson Santa. Jack Southfield doing us the service, being here tonight. Took the day off, and it was worth it. He's up there in P4 at the moment, and is making some big inroads on the championship. Of course, relative to Sir Smogy, is going to be losing, I believe, about 12-ish points, or about 15 points. So that's going to be a big amount of time and points to claw back. But definitely doable, because Sir Smogy and Jack Southfield are doing it right now relative to Bailey Thompson. Oh, Peter Kay is back. I actually don't know what you're talking about. I know who Peter Kay is, he's the comedian, right? I just don't know where it's coming from. Matt Agden is here. Unless he's talking about himself. I don't know. I'm so sorry, Matt, but I just don't get it. But anyway, Cholmondeley into the pit lane, same two with the Dutchman and Nico Veldman. There's the Mercedes of Bailey Thompson just in front of him there. Both of them coming in. You can see not up onto the jacks there, so not taking any tyres, only fuel. And McClory, I've noticed that for a couple of laps now with a drive-through penalty, whether that be for track limits infringements, which I think it is, 3 and then nothing, you get the drive-through. Also following in, there's Nico Veldman pulling himself into the pit lane. Very long pit lane here. Samuel Cholmondeley drops and goes. Ticking down under 20 minutes to go here for round 5 at the Brickyard of Indianapolis. Crawling his way out of the pit lane, our leader of the race, Smogy, pulls himself into the pit lane as well. Eligner and Davidson carry on for yet another lap, though they are going to have to think about coming in soon, because as you can see at the top of your screens, only 6 minutes left in this race. Of course, thank you to our sponsors, Needham Designs, for supporting TSRC. Thanks to the SimGrid for allowing us to host this championship. And of course, thank you to ourselves at JP Broadcasting for delivering the production feed, of course, for the entire season. As I say, if you are watching along in the YouTube chat and you're not already subscribed to JP Broadcasting, leave a like, turn on the bell for notifications to make sure you're up to date with everything going on here in the world of sim racing. Of course, keep an eye out for Twitter and things like that. Keep an eye out for the final voting of the VCO semis in about 10 days time, I believe, or something along those lines. Samuel Chimondley squeezing the Lexus of Eric Larson to the outside. Eric Larson saws his way around the outside, really leaving nothing on the table in terms of the amount of track that he's using. Brings it back to go through the right and then into the left. We're not taking too bad of a line through there. Samuel Chimondley wasn't able to get the up and under that he was perhaps once hoping. Also, can we just say, Christmas is next week, and I do not know how to feel about that. Like, that is scary. Okay, I was not expecting it to come up that quick. There's Chimondley going very late on the brakes. Christmas is next week. And again, it's the 15th of December, 10 days left to go. It's come up so quickly, and I'm taken aback. Nice move, definitely, Merman. Really good move. Tom Davidson comes into the pit lane. Same to Chris Davis, Fernando Torres. Bailey Thompson's still there, so definitely retiring from this race. Not entirely sure why Assetto Thompson would come in. There goes. That's Eric Larson. No, it's not. That's not Eric Larson. That is a Bentley of Chris Davis just sitting in front of Chimondley. Chimondley sending the move to the inside. Nicely done. Is the Bentley going to come up and under? Yes, he is inside line for the next right hand, although doesn't quite have the overlap. Chimondley with the speed. Stays in front for now. Tom Davison, Guillaume Hamling also into the pit lane. Forgot to order some presents. No, actually, I got all my Christmas shopping done at like the end of October. Like literally as soon as Halloween done, I was like, I'm bored. I'm going to order my presents. And I didn't like looking at my PayPal afterwards, but then again I did do quite well. Bought for 15 people, only spent sort of about 250 quid. So I was like pretty banging, that is all right. I got my mum 3 presents because she deserves it. I got my girlfriend's mum a couple of presents as well. And yeah, I'm very happy with this Christmas. And of course got it in before the whole Royal Mail strike and things like that. So thankfully I'm not too affected by that, though my girlfriend's present, who ordered hers, it didn't let me get her a present like for ages. Was like, no, you spent too much on my birthday, blah blah blah, all that spiel, whatever. Women. Finally let me get something, but Sheen just takes ages. So couple that with a Royal Mail strike, and it's just not a good combination. I digress. Away from Christmas, because I did not forget to order some presents. I did quite well. Let's hope you get more in return. Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope Santa's looking nice on me today. Father Christmas, do me a favour. I've been good this year. I think I've delivered in the world of commentary. If anyone wants to send me something, you know, I should set up a PO box or something, maybe. I'm joking. No one's going to be that nice to me. Who knows? Maybe you're a generous lot. Just saying my favourite chocolate is Reese's. Actually, is that true? I didn't even know. I talk some absolute waffle on these streams. I'm surprised Sharpie and James actually let me do it. Because I hardly ever talk about the racing action. Because I'm by myself. I don't really know what else I can do. There's racing action going on, but there's not enough to talk about it. I'll just be like, here's Hamlin going through the right-hander. So here's some personal anecdotes, here's some stuff to spice up the stream, and hopefully you're all enjoying my rambles. As someone very kindly said last week, rambling more than crofty during pre-season testing, which I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know whether or not to take offence to that or whatever, but I don't know. But I do hope everyone who does celebrate Christmas this year does have a very, very, very merry one. And fingers crossed in a week's time, Spa gives us the best Christmas present of all and delivers some fantastic action. There's a McLaren going very wide. That's a bit of lap traffic. That is Rodriguez. Now being lapped by a couple of the fringes of the top 10. You can see they're hanging up Chris Davis just a little bit. Sharpie as well used to that, yeah, probably. To the final corner for Guillaume Hamling then. Trying to close in on Samuel Chimondley, who, again, as I say, class of the field today. So impressed with how he's been getting on. Up to P7 from the back of the grid, of course, qualified quite well, actually, I think on the 2nd or 3rd row. And is just impressing. I don't know what more I can say about him. Everyone inside the top 20 has taken their mandatory pit stop, so nothing to worry about in that department. So Smokey still leads the way. Derek Ligner, Tom Davis on your podium. Jack Southwood, Nico Velderman after the pit stop sequence, doing really well to round off the top 5. Then comes Eric Larson. Samuel Chimondley, Guillaume Hamlin, Chris Davis and Tom Marchinek leading the way for the AMS, rounds off the top 10 overall. Hamlin is trying to close in on Chimondley, who himself is trying to close in on Eric Larson, who himself is trying to close in on Nico Veldman. So if Larson has got the pace, maybe we could see some good action for that fight for 5th into the final 13 minutes of this race. Is Quinten still in the race? I don't know where... yeah, that's a good point, actually. Van Vingeren. Where is Van Vingeren? I haven't seen him at all throughout qualifying or anything. I don't think he's here today. I think we've got only the 20 cars that took to the grid initially. So, yeah, that is a good point, actually. I didn't even notice. Am champion, of course, of Season 1. Promoted up into the pros for Season 2. And unfortunately hasn't been able to flourish quite the same since. Quinten isn't here tonight. He's still hanging his head in shame from murdering a car last week, I think. Yeah, probably. Yeah. As Andrew Pike very eloquently put it last week, Quinten van Luzigden. It's peak comedy. He's on his iRacing journey. Fair enough. If anyone wants to donate to him for his bills, because there is no way he's got enough in this cost of living crisis to afford both iRacing and bills, give him a shout. Like, just give him slide him a fiver. Hope he recovers. Probably. I mean, when it comes to sim racing, it's never your fault as a driver. It's always someone else's fault. But when it's so slam dunk, 110% your fault, there is nothing more you can do than just pity yourself and just dwell in self-loathing. I don't even know. You just dwell and you're just like, I messed up, and it's heart-wrenching. So that's obviously the heartbreak that Quinten van Mingeren is going through at the moment. And he probably does do that every week. We just don't get to see it, maybe because he's so far down the time order. I joke. That is harsh. That is very harsh. I'm so sorry, because he has won a more prestigious championship than I ever will. I managed to get a runners-up prize in the esports competition, the only esports competition I've ever done. So I mean, he's doing a good job. I have come to realise that it's Andrew Pike's fault that I'm so harsh to everyone. He gives me the rundown of everything going on, everything I need to slide into the commentary, and it's his fault. So if anything, Andrew Pike, he did win a wet Imola race once upon a time. Fair play. Imola's a tough track. The wet is very tough. So touche. In the Nissan even. The chonk of the Godzilla. Running on the top of the Lexus, looking back at the two chasing cars of Sandwich Modelling and Guillaume Hamling this fight for 6th. Eric Larson has not been able to close the gap. And sorry if there are random increases and decreases in pitch and volume. It's me scratching my nose while also trying to hold my microphone. Because, dear old me, put my mic stand into my desk. Where my mic stand is so long, moments and things like that, the further away you are from the pivot, the more force you can put down and blah, blah, blah. Snapped my desk. So since then, I've had to hold my mic. And that was back in, like, June, I think. So since then, I've just been holding my microphone for the duration of commentaries. So that's why if it goes like this and then goes like this again, it's because I'm stretching my nose or doing something along those lines. Again, behind the scenes into what it's like being an esports motorsport commentator. You get random decreases and increases in pitch depending on your distance to the mic because you're scratching your nose. There's Sandwich Modelling. There's the dive to the inside of the Lexus, trying his best to not traverse into the side of the Lexus. Eric Larson saw it coming, and through the final corner, the right-hander, now with only 9.5 minutes left to go in this race. There's Nico Veldman holding strong in that 5th place. Closely followed, though, by the defending Lexus, trying to give Guillaume Hamling the slipstream, though, as he mounts an attack for 7th place. The Lamborghini to the inside line. The Lexus pulls it back to the left-hand side. Sandwich Modelling, is he going to give this up easy? No, he's not. Late braking, outside line, too late on the brakes for turn number 1. Invites Guillaume Hamling through with a very, very easy affair. Sandwich Modelling having to set up the P8 at the end of that skirmish. Conor Courtney invites James Wright through with a nice amount of sort just in behind them. So this fight for 13th, no longer a fight anymore because, well, James Wright is careering off into the distance and, of course, into classes, so no championship points at stake. Though Wright would have wanted that to try and fight for 2nd in his class. Tom Marcinek leads the way. Fernando Torres and James Wright, your podium for the AMS. And James Wright is going to try and invite the move. Johnny Woo, that was great. What was great? Because I don't know where you guys are. I don't know what you've watched. Because for my stream, they're now going into turn 1. So, yeah, I don't know where the delay is and what you're talking about at when, but yeah. We'll focus on this fight in between two Porsches. Fernando Torres, James Wright for second place in the AMS. Very, very close, of course, as we enter the final stages of this race. Also, keep an eye on that fight for 6th. Eric Larson, Guillaume Hamling, Samuel Chimondley will cut between them as they develop. But now we've got replays. It doesn't matter if we miss some action. We can go back and watch it again. Yeah, I love it. Great. I get all giddy and excited. Here's the fight. Here's Guillaume Hamling eyeing up a move. Eric Larson to the right-hand side. Down the inside of turn number 1. Gets it stopped. The Lexus has to tuck in just in behind. Samuel Chimondi back in touch. Guillaume Hamling absolutely flying. Eric Larson under pressure. Lost the momentum. Now you can see Samuel Chimondi trying to go for the up and under. Dives his way back to the inside. Oh, and he's touched. Eric Larson into the gravel trap. Larson giving Hamling the slipstream was great. Yeah, good tactic. Oh, bit of a slide there. Reminds me of everyone out on the ice today on UK roads. Back now this fight, James Wright versus Fernando Torres. You can hardly see the second Porsche as he's tucked up so closely behind the 24. Pulls out late to the left-hand side, outside line for turn number 1. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes? Is he going to invite Fernando Torres to go in deep? Conor Courtney very late on the brakes as well from them. Oof. Thought he was going to go careering into the back of James Wright there. Fortunately, we were mistaken because this is a fight for second. And is not one that Conor Courtney needs to be getting involved in at all. In towards the next right-hander then for James Wright. Trying to close the gap to Fernando Torres, who so far is hanging on well. And following what Nightbot's saying, follow us over on Twitter, Instagram, and of course here on YouTube as well. Get yourself on all the social media, follow along, keep yourself updated, blah, 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 all that random spiel, housekeeping stuff that I meant to be saying over the course of this stream. For the big man, James Parfitt. You can see there the Aston Martin, Conor Courtney inviting them through. McLaren also pulling out of the way, that is Rodriguez. So just allowing James Wright and Fernando Torres to continue their fight beyond this lap. That fight between Guillaume Hamling, Samuel Chimondi and Eric Larson, of course, has naturally diffused because Guillaume Hamling so much quicker than those in behind. And Eric Larson getting a tap from the Honda NSX to send him out of that race. So that is a bit of an anticlimactic end. There goes Fernando Torres wide, invites James Wright through for second place in the AMS. Trying to keep the place versus the Aston Martin, who isn't even in the same race. That might be Christopher Marston. A bit of lap traffic. And Fernando Torres, bottled second place is the only way you can put it, unless he's got something in the bag to close the gap back up in the final 5.5 minutes of this race. It's looking unlikely he's going to be able to get himself back into third place. Speaking of places in the AM, Martin Blankensteiner might be losing a lot of points here, depending on the race completion versus the amount of points that you get, because Martin Blankensteiner, DNF very early on in this race. Tom Marcinek, 18 points behind. And to take the victory, well, that's 30 points gained. So Martin Blankensteiner might lose the lead in the championship, similar to Bailey Thompson, who is going to be losing the lead as well. Big shake-ups in what seem to be fairly secure championship grasps for both of our leaders, Bailey Thompson and Martin Blankenmeister. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that happened, but it happened. But yeah, what's your thoughts and feelings of this race season so far? Everyone in the YouTube chat, get your thoughts in, get your predictions in, maybe for Spa. Get them in early. What are you thinking? And of course, just how you've been. Give me some updates. How you've been getting on. Anything of note that you need to talk about? Anything, really. Get us through the final 4 minutes of this race. Be nice to hear from the community, of course. Something we don't quite get enough of in sim racing, of course. Recently, the Buck-Kicker Brick Car 24 Hours of Silverstone, aided by Motorsport UK, aim to do that completely community run, and I think that is so important to have that community involvement, because sim racing is nothing without its community of a vast array of people, and keeping it a very light-hearted, positive community, one that not many demographics can really boast from. The gap between Fernando Torres and James Wright continues to grow beyond the initial mistake. So does seem to be the case that James Wright is going to try and hang on to second place. Here's Conor Courtney having a bit of a look to the inside of Fernando Torres. Of course, the Irishman did take the win at race 1 at Brands Hatch, but since then has not really boasted that much in terms of success. The next recent highlight was a 7th place at that same event at Brands Hatch. So Conor Courtney having their moment of fame at Brands Hatch. unfortunately since then really has struggled. Following as close as possible in so to Fernando Torres though will be to no gain in the overall championship standings. Only one place overall. Being waved. Blue flags being waved. Not familiar with everyone in terms of the YouTube chat or in terms of the grid. So, again, I'm not sure. I'd say Thompson there. For the championship? Oh yeah, the championship predictions. You're going to say Thompson for the championship is what I'm gathering from that. At least I assume. Maybe. I don't know. It depends who delivers at Spa. Spa's a circuit that everyone loves. I love Spa. It's a circuit that a lot of people go quite well at. So again, it remains to be seen because we've never had Spa on the calendar here for the PC leagues. It's not something I've seen. And I unfortunately haven't been able to dwell in the PC or PC? PS. Or Xbox is what I was trying to say. PS or Xbox. I haven't been able to dwell in those championships, so I don't know how Spa goes for some of these guys. 1 minute 53 seconds left to go for round 5. Still very early morning here in Indiana. That is a mouthful. Here at Indiana, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That probably works a little better. English just isn't, it doesn't work. It's a great language, fantastic language, love it. Guillaume Hamling has made some great progress on Nico Veldman though, let's just say. On to what I believe to be the final lap, or maybe penultimate lap. I'm not sure, we'll see. If that is the case, I mean what they've been doing, 135s, 1:20 as they cross the line. I think it is going to be 2 more laps left to go. We'll cut to Sosmogi if and when he does cross the line this lap, just to double check. And of course then for the checkered flag. But this fight for the top 5, Nico Veldman versus Guillaume Hamling. This is the fight that we saw last time at Misano for round 2. So Guillaume Hamling trying his best to stay on the back of the Dutchman. Luxembourg versus Holland. Guillaume Hamling is going to try and beat his fellow Benelux driver to the fringes of the top 5. Guillaume Hamling has been on a fight back since the start of this race, having a bit of a spin earlier on. Has been on a clawback since and has done a great job of doing it. Nico Veldman, very quiet race to claw his way inside the top 5 after the pit stops. Salman Tremonti just in behind him as well. Through the right, using the full extent of the track is Guillaume Hamling. Into the long right-hander before you have to slam on the anchors for yet another chicane just after. Barely dip onto the oval before you straight back onto the brakes. Nico Veldman goes in a bit too deep. Guillaume Hamling betterly poised. Timer tick 0. Checkered flag is waved, I think. So Smoky has ticked off yet another lap. So I think we are going to be good in that department. Final lap then of this race. We are in the US of A. So it will be the white flag being waved for this final lap. Guillaume Hamling is finally running towards turn 1. Is he close enough to launch the attack? He's going to have a look. He's going to brake late. Is it late enough? Not quite. Nico Veldman holds on. Guillaume Hamling putting some pressure on, trying his best to claw onto the back of the 29 Audi. Through the long right-hander. Seemingly goes on forever. Back on the brakes the next. And then again another right-hander just after. Really long, really demanding of the left-hand side tyres. Here's the fight though. Sir Smokey gets past the 24, Fernando Torres, clearing his way through in towards the final chicane for the final time. So Smokey from pole to flag hasn't been under any pressure whatsoever during the course of this race. He will tick off yet another victory here for the Sim Racing Collective. GT3 PC season number 2 takes the championship lead with him as well, going into just one more race at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in a week's time. Sir Smokey reigns victorious at Indianapolis. Dominic Enligna, I should say, just in behind there for P2. Tom Davidson P3, with Jack Southfield there P4. I've been calling him Derek this entire time. It's Dominic. I'm so sorry, Enligna. That is completely my fault. Who's going to come out on top, though, between Guillaume Hamling and Nico Veldman? The send maybe from the 351 Lamborghini. Gets thwarted, though, from Nico Veldman, who just about manages to hang on. and that should seal the deal, unless Gem Hamling has something special. One more corner left for Nico Veltman to hang on to the P5. It's too little, too late. It was a good effort, but not quite enough for Gem Hamling. Nico Veltman rounds off this race in P5. And a nice one for Smokey indeed. Sandwich Mondley P7, Chris Davis a moment later there, just in the background, a shot for P number 8. Eric Larson just behind there for P9. Chris Davis, a good result there for Team Ricky Monsters. Winner for the AMS and potentially the championship lead to go with it. Tom Marchnek in the Bentley takes victory here for the AMS. P10 overall, a fantastic showing for him. Slav just in behind it for P11. James Wright, a good hard-fought fight for second in the AMS. P12 overall, of course. Fernando Torres already crossing the line after being lapped by our race leader, James Wright. Crossed the line, second place for him. What a result. After 40 minutes of racing action, then it was Sir Smokey that takes victory and the championship lead going into Spa in a week's time. Dominic Aligner takes second place. Tom Davidson rounds off the podium with Jack Southwood, Nico Veltman, your top 5. Gem Hamling in P6 with Samuel Chmonley, Chris Davis and Eric Larson, 7th, 8th and 9th. Rounding off the top 10 comes Tom Marchnek and the victory for the AMS with Slav in P11. James Wright second for the AMS with Fernando Torres rounding off the amateur podium in P13. Connor Courtney just in behind 14th. Martin Bryan, McClory, Marston, Rodriguez, Thompson and Blankensteiner the 19th and 20th. Neither of them actually made it to the checkered flag, unfortunately, and both of them the respective championship leaders of both categories coming into this race. Big shake-ups, of course, going into Spa in a week's time. Well, I can't wait for that one at all. Of course, my name has been Zach Sweeney. I've been talking you through this race, all 40 minutes of it. The penultimate round of what has so far proven to be a fantastic second season of the PC GT3 Series here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's been an absolute pleasure talking you through, and it's going to be such a shame to see it come to an end, but all good things have an end. Hopefully we'll be back for Season 3. But we're not over just yet. We still have one more race. The 22nd of December, 8 PM GMT. Join me in the commentary booth here on JP Broadcasting to signal off the finale of Season number 2. We still have both championships well up for grasp. Until then, guys, do take care. Open your advent calendar. Get your last-minute Christmas shopping done and dusted. Hope you all enjoy your evenings. Take care, and I'll see you next week.